All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome to LisaBug Yoga for Functional Posture. We are in the month of May 2024. Thanks to Judith for suggesting this topic. And so, what we want to do is focus on posture in different positions that we would spend during our day or different functional activities that we do to always keep a reminder not to slump or not to slouch, but in what we're doing through the day to maintain good posture and alignment. Optional chair today, yoga strap, blocks, and maybe a blanket to sit on. And we're going to start seated today. So if you prefer sitting in your chair right off the bat, you can have a seat there or come down onto your mat. And I do like to sit up on a cushion, and just so that it elevates the hips a little bit more. And when our hips are lifted, we can come into that good postural alignment with the pelvis. So this kind of keeps us from slouching. So we can open up the hips and lengthen the spine. And before we begin, let's not rush into our practice today. Just start to breathe and center in any way that feels right for you. You can close your eyes. Just kind of remove all the distractions from your day, coming truly to the present moment, putting aside your to-do list, putting aside your worries and stresses, taking full advantage of this gift that you've given yourself of this hour of practicing yoga. And maybe take a moment today and set an intention for your practice. And what that means is really to say, what is my goal? Why am I here today? And maybe you don't have one. You don't have an intention or a goal. So then just be open to possibilities. And I'd like you to try to grow your spine a half an inch taller, just to use all of your muscles to lift upward a little bit, separating your vertebrae and lengthening up into the crown of the head. And a lot of our tightness with our posture comes from our pectoral muscles and our shoulders. So we're just going to do a nice warm up for the shoulders. And just shrug them up toward your ears. And then rather than just letting them fall down, I want you to push them down. And connect with these muscles right here underneath the armpits and toward the bottom of your shoulder blades. And notice where that action comes from as you press down and lift up and press down. Let's do one more time with the breath, exhaling. I want to take that same action and involve your arms now. So just with palms forward, as you shrug your shoulders up, lift your arms, or your arms come up, shoulders come up, and then press down, and you're drawing your elbows slightly back and downward. And we'll inhale, shrug the shoulders, exhale, down. Now, what we want to avoid a lot is this shrugging of the shoulders, and it probably doesn't even really feel that great. So next time you do this, I want you to keep the shoulder blades down and just lift your arms up. Don't shrug your shoulders. And then press down. Lock those shoulder blades into place. So what we need to try to teach ourselves is when we lift our arms up, not to let our shoulder girdle come up if possible. Now, there might be some functional things in life that we need to do to elevate up the shoulder blades. But for the most part, we want to train those muscles to keep the shoulders away from the ears and down while our arms are lifting. Because the shoulders are more stable when they're down in that position, and there's less of a chance of injuring the shoulder girdle. Let's do one more. Raising up any amount without lifting your shoulder blades, and then squeezing back. Good. Now the hands are going to come to prayer. Maybe your elbows can touch, maybe they're slightly separated. And then open and pull back. And the first few times when you bring your shoulders or your arms forward, I want you to pull your shoulder blades apart. It's like I'm separating the backs of my shoulder blades away from each other, and then squeeze them together. And if it feels more comfortable for your arms to be a little lower, maybe you're down in here, it's okay. I don't want them to be really high when you're doing this. So make sure that those elbows are definitely lower than the tops of your shoulders. So we're rounding the shoulder blades apart, and then we're pulling back. And I want you to feel that one more time. What does it feel like to open your shoulder blades apart and then pull them together? And then I want you to bring your arms together, but not let your shoulder blades come apart. Okay, maybe they're not going to come as close. That's about as far as I can get without letting my shoulder blades come apart, and then pull them back together. So this is preventing us from getting a rounded posture in our back and slumping by only bringing our arms as close as we can without letting our shoulder blades come apart. With the breath, inhale here, exhale back. One more. Holding here. Now let your right hand come down. We're going to stretch and side bend, but don't let your shoulder blade come up and lift right here. So you're just reaching over, shoulder blade is down. Pull it even further down as you go to switch sides. So we do this a lot, and we really let everything go. That's not really what we're focusing on today. We're focusing on maintaining that shoulder blade down while we do different actions of movement. And you can either exhale when you reach or inhale. And for me, this takes a lot of concentration not to let my shoulder blade elevate. So this is similar to what we did before when we lifted both arms up and pulled the shoulders back. But now we're just adding side flexion or lateral flexion of the spine. Okay, remember when we reached forward and didn't let the shoulder blades come apart? So we're going to reach out, twist your body, bring the hand across, but don't let your back bow out. So keep that shoulder blade back, and then bring it in and reach across and bring it in. So for me, when I do it this way, I feel more of a stretch through my waist and through my spine, and not as much through the lat. And that's not to say doing it the other way is wrong. It's just what we're focusing on today for this practice. Now, a lot of things that we do functional in life involves a pushing. So I want you to actively push your palm away without letting that shoulder blade come apart and round. And I am bracing my hand on the floor, so it's giving me a little bit of traction or support so I can twist away from that force. Nice. Shoulder blades are still down. One more each side. And come center. Now, thinking about those shoulder blades being down, what we're going to do is take the arms out. And as the right arm lifts, the left arm is going to come down. And then you'll switch. And of course, you're doing all of these movements through a comfortable range of motion if you have shoulder issues. So this is just our first level, just doing it just like this. And as I start to add levels, you decide what you want to stick with. So now as the right hand comes up, bring your hand behind and try to tap yourself behind the back of your neck. Now, if it's difficult for you to lift your arm all the way up, maybe you're tapping your shoulder right here and right here. So you're doing the range of motion that really works good for you today. And kind of keeping in mind, we're still in the warm-up phase of class today. Are your shoulder blades down as you're doing this? For me, it's a little bit easier because I have one arm down, and that's helping me keep those shoulders down. So this is going to start to move into cow face. So as the one arm is up, the other hand is going to come behind your back, and you have to turn the back of your hand, and it just rests on the small of your back. Now I want you to go a little slower with this because this can be a little intense on that shoulder. And I don't want you to strain anything. And you don't have to go for full range of motion trying to touch your fingers together behind you. This is just a gentle range. Good. So what I want to add now is when the right arm is up, the left arm is back, you're going to side stretch over toward the bottom arm side. And try to keep those sitting bones firmly planted into the floor. Shoulder blades are down. Just one more each side. And then let's just place the hands on top of the knees. If you'd like to switch the cross of your ankles, if you're seated in simple cross-leg pose, it's kind of nice to do that. And we are going to sit tall and start to spin the spine around in the pelvic bowl. So we're just going to slowly tip from the right side to the front, to the left side, and back up to neutral. Or you can slightly lean back. Now, oftentimes when we do this, we really let our spine slump and curve. I want you to try to avoid a lot of that. So pull those shoulder blades down and spin around just from the lower back, not by rounding through the upper back. Now your chin and your head position plays a big role in whether we come out of alignment. So as soon as I drop my chin down toward my chest, then I start to slump and round. So I want you to keep your chin slightly lifted. Try not to really jut it a lot forward, but just keep this space between your chin and your sternum. And then let's pause in reverse direction. So it should feel almost like you're leading with your chest coming forward. Relax your hips. Relax your lower back, but keep a little bit of connection in your core. So tighten up your midsection a little bit. And I like to exhale when I'm coming forward and then inhale as I'm coming back. Let's go twice more around this direction. And come back up to center. We'll just take a breath. Inhale, shoulder blades down, and exhale it out. All right, take your time to come up to a stand, and I'm going to use this side of my mat as the front of my mat. So I've got my chair there in case I want to use it. Just come up any way that feels comfortable for you. And then we will come up to the top of our mat into mountain pose. So I'm going to build my mountain from the ground up. So taking a look at your feet, make sure they're parallel, straight forward, and you can have them tight together or separated about a fist distance apart or a little bit wider if you need that stronger base of support. And then let's lift our toes up off the floor. Try to spread them apart with the muscles of your feet And then place your toes back down with a little bit of separation between each toe, and slightly grip the mat with your toes. Not a lot. I don't want this to be really tightening in your feet, but just a little bit so you feel them helping you balance. Then pull in all the muscles of your thighs. So tighten your leg muscles, tighten your glutes, tighten your core, extend your spine upward, and then pull your shoulders back and down, elevate through the crown of the head, and turn your palms forward. This is our wonderful mountain pose. Maybe even spread your fingers apart so you have some really nice action in your hands. And let's breathe. So each time we come back to mountain, I want you to try to find this strong, solid position as quickly as you can. But if you need to take more time to focus on each body part, that's okay as well. So on an inhale, let's let your arms come forward with your palms up and sit into a baby chair pose. Try not to let your shoulder blades shrug up, so you're still pressing them down. And then stand up into mountain and pull the arms back. That's your exhale. We'll inhale to sit. Exhale to come up. And try to keep that, what we call the pada bandha or the foot lock, into place. So we still have the toes spread slightly, a little tiny bit of gripping of our toes, but we've got most of the weight into our heels as we sit back. Let's do one more. Arms forward. And mountain pose, arms back. Let's bring the palms to the center of the chest. Try not to round your shoulder blades apart. So pull them back. Take a step back with your right foot, any amount. Place the heel down. Bend your left knee and open out into our goalpost or cactus arms. Then as your palms come back together, you'll step your right foot back into place. And then step your left foot back. Let your heel come down, open out into our cactus or goalpost arms, and then step in. So you're going to alternate this at your own pace, and you can make this a very small step, or you can start to play with this and see where you can take it, see how far you can step back. So this is our baby warrior one, or called a short stance warrior one. If you like taking it way back behind you, you can do a high crescent lunge. And in that case, your back heel will be lifted off the floor. A little bit more of a balance challenge. And this progression is called flight of the bird. So I want you to think about your arms as being those bird wings, opening, expanding, lifting the heart. And then when you come back to center, keep your shoulder blades retracted back. Eyes are on the horizon. Remember, as soon as we drop our chin and look down, then we lose our form, and I just lost my balance doing that as well. Let's do one more on each leg. Step back in. Let your arms come back into your nice mountain pose, pulling the shoulder blades back. So I'm going to just turn to face you. You can stay to the side of your mat so you can see, but we're going to come back into one arm lifting, reaching back, while the other hand comes behind your back. And we did this while we were sitting. So you're just going to go from side to side. So you might say, Lisa, this bothers the shoulder when I bring my arm behind my back. Then your choice is just going to bring your hand to your hip or anywhere that feels comfortable for that arm. And keep going a couple more times on each side, just at your own pace. And then remember, we added a side bend when we were sitting. So you're going to side stretch toward the bottom arm side. So essentially, your top elbow is going to point up more toward the ceiling as you open up that side waist. Now, when you side bend, I want you to keep the same distribution of your body weight into your feet. So try not to lean over to the foot that you're stretching towards and have more weight on that foot. Try to keep it balanced, which means everything from your pelvis down is exactly the same. And it's just your side waist up that's changing the positions. Let's do one more each side. And then let your arms float down, turn your palms forward, come to mountain, just check in. Now I'm feeling those shoulders are really warm. And feeling a lot of work there as well. So we're going to inhale, sweep the arms forward and up without letting the shoulder blades rise up. Exhale, soften the knees a little bit and fold into a forward bend. Your hands can come to your chair, maybe to blocks, or you can come closer to the floor, maybe even put your fingertips on your shins. And then we come up, the arms go forward, we lift without letting the shoulder blades float up. And we exhale, soften the knees, coming into your forward bend. And you can bend your knees as much as you need to in that forward bend. Try not to round your back though. So I don't want you to come forward and look like a cat stretch and hang like this into your forward bend and do it from your back. I want you to try to keep those shoulder blades down, keep more of a neutral spine, and lengthen the backs of your legs rather than lengthening your back. We're going to prepare to come into down dog, and you might like to use your chair. So if you're a chair person for down dog, you're going to put your hands on the chair and step your feet back, and then really lengthen, rounding your shoulder blades apart. If you're down on the floor, hands come to the mat, walk those feet back. And I want you to feel like you're pushing your arms forward, which is going to drive your hips back a little more. And just let those heels sink down to the floor. And then we're going to walk the dog. And that means just bend one knee, push the opposite heel down, and then bend the other knee, push the heel. So it's like you're taking little steps while you're in your down dog, stretching one side and then the other. So ideally, when you're in down dog, if you look to the side, you should be looking under your arm. So this would not be a correct down dog. But if you have shoulder issues, then you're going to make some of those modifications. But the more we are forward over our hands this way, the wrists are going to give us a problem. So if we really push back and we can open up the shoulders a little bit more, there's less pressure on our hands. Good. One more walk the dog on each leg. And then we'll just walk the feet back toward the hands to come back into our forward bend. Hands can be on the chair. Knees can be bent as much as needed. And then we'll inhale, coming back up. Press the palms together. Let the arms come by your side, palms face forward, find your mountain pose. Now we'll take a step back with one foot. Doesn't matter which one it is, I just want you to turn toward me long ways on your mat. So whatever that foot is going to be, take a nice big step wide. Turn your toes out a little bit. Pull your abs in. So remember the movement we did when we raised our arms up without letting our shoulder blades come away, and then we pulled the elbows back and we activated those lat muscles. We're going to do that with a 5-pointed star. So we'll reach up. The 5 points are your 2 hands in your head and your 2 feet. And then as you pull down, bend your knees into goddess squat. With our breath, we inhale and exhale. Now, if you're not sure if you're lifting your shoulder blades or not, go ahead and make your shoulder blades come up. Do that really big shrug and then push it away and feel the difference. And then don't allow your body to do that. Sometimes we have to feel what's incorrect before we can feel what's correct. So our body can kind of sense the difference. Inhale. Exhale. 2 more. Last one. Hold here. Keep your knees bent any amount. Keep your abs pulled in. Try not to push your butt back, but slightly tuck your tailbone under. And we are going to reach one arm. Shoulder blade stays down. And then the other. We did this seated. Now we're doing it in a squat position. And again, if you're not sure if you're keeping your shoulder blades down or not, do the opposite so you can see what that feels like. So shrug your shoulder up. And then you'll go, okay, now I know what I need to avoid doing to keep the lats connected. And then we added rotation with a push across. So press out, but try not to let your shoulder blade come out of its spot. So keep it in, push. And then other side, push. I tell you what, when I do this, I feel it all right here because I'm not just doing my arm. This is really coming from my core. And if you imagine you're pushing a heavy object, even though it's not there, the muscles will activate. Now, if your legs are getting tired, come up out of your squat. You can do this with straighter legs as well. Let's do one more each side. And come center. Reach up, straighten the legs. Try not to let your shoulder blades elevate. And then just let your arms come down just slightly below the level of your shoulders. If you're not sure if your shoulder blades are shrugging, go ahead and lift them up and then press them down and really see the difference, how that feels. Let's turn our right foot forward, kick our left foot parallel, bend the right knee, find your warrior 2. You might need to separate your feet a little bit more. Good. Then we're just going to do a side angle pose. So this right hand's going to come down to your thigh. The left arm's going to lift, but try not to let your shoulder blade elevate. And then as you come up, bring the left hand behind your back, your right arm up, and you're going to do the cow face arm. And then we go to side angle. And we come up to our cow face arm. And again, pain-free range of motion. So if bringing this hand to your hip feels better, that's where you're going to let it land. Now think about the Pada Bandha in both feet. So if you can, maybe separate your toes a little bit and give them a tiny bit of squeeze into your mat. Let's get one more of these. Then find your warrior two. Now this left hand is going to reach across as you twist. So you're looking forward over the knee. Bend the left arm and do a draw the bow, and then extend your arm out. So you reach across, draw the bow, and extend across. Now when you draw the bow, I want you to pull your elbow back even further and look that direction, and then let your arm come out. So you're getting more of a retraction of your shoulder blade and more of a twist then to the opposite side with your core. And your head is kind of following the movement of your arm. If that makes you kind of feel a little dizzy or lose your balance, you don't have to move your head. You can do the exercise and continue to look forward the whole time. Let's do one more. Now, I don't know about you, but my bent knee quad is starting to talk to me. So let's lower our arms down and either put your hands on your hips or reach your hands behind your back. Or if you want to take your yoga strap, you can certainly use that and put it behind your back. We're going to come into chest expansion. So before you do, lift up your shoulder blades a little bit. Doesn't feel good, doesn't look good. So push them down and lift your arms up behind your back as far as you feel comfortable. Now, if you're using the strap, your hands can be as wide as you want to get the lift of your arms that you want. And then we're just going to add movement in the right leg. So we'll straighten it and we'll bend it. So, we're always told by our yoga instructors and other instructors that we don't want our knee to go over our toe. So you kind of are noticing that I'm going a little bit past my heel and I'm letting my knee kind of slightly drift over my toe. Well, you know what? It's not as bad for us as we thought. We don't want to do it a lot. But when you go downstairs, guess what? Your knee has to go over your toe to be able to go downstairs, right? So it's functional to let that happen. So as long as it doesn't give you pain, we can do a few of these. Good. All right, straighten that leg. Relax the arms a bit. Sometimes I just like to put my yoga strap over my shoulders so it's there and available for me. We're going to switch the warrior two position. So this right foot turns in, the left foot turns out. We'll come into our pose and extend the arms. If you need to do a shoulder shrug first, go ahead and do so you can feel the yin and yang of doing that. Press the shoulders down. And then we'll come into side angle without letting your shoulder blade come up. So this would be the difference. So keep it down and then come into your cow face arm. Modifying any way for this side. So if you have a rotator cuff problem, other shoulder issues, stay in your pain-free range. So you might say, well, this one arm bothers me, so I'm only going to do one side. And that's okay. This is your practice, and what's nice is you're in the comfort of your own home and you don't feel like sometimes when we're in a big class with people in the room, I don't know, is shamed the word? We feel shamed a little bit if we don't do what the teacher's saying to do it exactly. You don't have to feel that way. Not in LisaBug classes. All right, let's do one more. Great. Come back to your warrior two. Make sure those shoulder blades are down. Reach this right arm across. Draw the bow by pulling. And then open it back out. So I can just go through the motions of doing this and just kind of slide my hand back. Or I can really pull as if I have a bow and I'm drawing against that really hard, sinewy bow, and I'm creating workload and resistance. Really pulling that elbow back a little further. Slightly rotating through the core, so I'm developing a lot of power through my midsection. Let's do a couple more here. Have you got the Pada Bandha going in your feet? All right, nice. Relax the arms. You can bring hands to your hips, behind your back, or take that yoga strap, being behind with you. What I like about the yoga strap, there's a lot of things, but you can kind of pull your hands apart, like you're trying to yank this out, so you're creating some intensity in your shoulders. So shoulder blades are down, arms are lifted any amount. We're going to straighten the left leg and then bend the knee. And straighten and bend. So oddly enough, this is my non-surgical knee, and the arthritis in it is talking to me. So my surgical leg did a lot better than the non-surgical. I also have to tell you guys, and we can talk about it more in a chit chat, but some of you don't have the time to stay on, so I can tell you now. But I had my follow-up appointment for my knee, and I asked if we could take a little x-ray of my hip too, because I've been having pain. And that right hip, no cartilage left. It's bone on bone. Oh, isn't getting old lovely? I don't feel like I'm that old yet, but the joints are, they're showing their age. Let's do one more. And come up. Good. Relax that strap. Turn both feet together. Let's take a nice inhale. Just bring the arms up. If you don't have a yoga strap, just lift your arms. Keep your shoulder blades down. And exhale down. We are going to soften the knees just a small amount and hinge into a wide leg stretch. So you might need to put your hands on something, your chair or maybe a yoga block. I'm going to grab one here and just have that in front of you. Can we just hang without our arms on anything? Yeah, we can, but it's kind of nice to have some support, because then you can experience the stretch in the backs of your legs a little bit more without straining the muscles. Now I'm going to set my watch here for 3 minutes. I know it sounds like a long time, but we're going to be in this pose for 3 minutes. I'm going to start the clock now. And you have carte blanche to do whatever you'd like. Maybe you just want to stay here for 3 minutes and then just see how you can start to melt down a little deeper. Or you can add some twists. Or you can bend one knee and stretch the inner thigh. So this is just your time to play for 3 minutes. If you say, oh man, this position just is not rocking my world today, then find something else to stay in for 3 minutes. That's okay. Not every pose is for every body or every joint, whether it's arthritic or not. So I'm finding my limitations now with this hip And what my doctor said is it's really important that you don't try to force stretches when you have an arthritic hip. So in other words, don't get into butterfly and then try to push your knees out. If it hurts and that's exceeding your current pain-free range of motion, it's not good. Don't do it. It makes all the sense in the world. Okay, you guys, we're halfway through. I'm going to hold for the last 90 seconds. And then revisit the connection in your shoulder blades. Try to come back to that as often as you can. Revisit your breath. Find the connection in your breathing, in your abdominals. Come back to that. And if you feel like you need to back off on the depth of the stretch, listen to your body there, or maybe you can sink it deeper. We're down to 45 seconds to go. This can also be done nicely sitting in your chair, sitting towards the edge of your chair with your legs wide and just kind of folding over, or sitting on the floor. And 15 seconds, maybe 3 more slow breaths. Then we are going to start to move out of this pose in any way that feels best for you. And our destination is laying on our backs. So I'm not going to cue you out to get there because everybody kind of has their own way. Now, if you have your yoga strap, we're going to continue lengthening the back of the legs with some reclining hamstring stretches. If you need a little pillow behind your head, have that ready. Sometimes having your chair is nice for hamstring stretches too, because you can set your foot up on the chair of the leg you're not stretching. So if you want to scoot closer to your chair, you can do that. Now, I'm right-handed. I 99% of the time start with my right foot. Well, today we're going to do it differently. There might be some of you that are left-handed. Joyce, Birdie, are you left-handed? I think you are. So we're going to do this on our left foot first. So let's place that yoga strap around the sole or the ball of that left foot and send your leg up. Now, when I have my bottom knee bent, this allows your pelvis to tuck under and you don't have any stretch here of the hip flexor. It's okay. That's a fine way to do this stretch. But if you want to get this hip flexor, then we're going to lengthen that leg out. And I feel that a little bit in that arthritic hip. So I'm going to kind of find a halfway point here where I can get a little bit of a stretch, but not with any strain. And we are going to hold, and I've got my timer here, 90 seconds, holding our stretch. Now in this 90 seconds, if you want to take your leg across and get the IT band, or if you want to open up your leg to the side, get the inner thigh, make this your stretch for the 90 seconds that you have. Because all of our bodies have a little bit different needs, whatever day it is. And so just to give you carte blanche to kind of do what feels good for you is a good idea. So what I was talking about the chair was having this other leg. Of course, I should be closer and having my knee bent, but you can have that bottom leg up on a chair. That just kind of releases any tension in your lower back. So that feels nice if you have lower back issues. "40 seconds to go, or 35. You can also do some motion with your ankle, maybe some circles or flex and point, side to side. And using that strap really helps us to extend that leg straight because we can have it as low as we need and still have a hold of it. All right, there's your 90 seconds. So let's remove that strap, lower the leg. We'll start with the knee bent as we bring the strap to the ball of the right foot. Extend that leg up, find your range of motion, then decide what you want to do with this left leg. My hip's a lot better on this side, so I'm going to let that leg really extend long, get the benefit of that. And we have 90 seconds. So again, we can bring this slightly across for the IT band. We can open it out for the inner thigh. We just can keep it straight up and focus on the hamstring and the calf muscles. Movement in the ankle is great. And we don't have to do exactly what we did, as you noticed with my hip, on the right side versus the left. So you're just going to take it to your range of motion on this side. And, it's all kind of an experiment every day. Our bodies are a little bit different. And it's a journey. And sometimes the journey goes backwards a couple of times rather than always moving forward. That's okay. We have to give ourselves some grace. That's my word of the day for the last few days. When I went in to see my surgeon on Monday, he said, Lisa, you have to remember how bad your knee was before we fixed it, and you have to give yourself some grace. Oh, it was the best thing I heard. It's the best thing I heard. And he said, you're exactly where you should be, where I would expect you to be, and you're not going to want to hear this, but you're halfway through your recovery. So at 7 months, I can expect another 7 until I'm really, really back to what I would consider normal. All right, that's 90 seconds on that side. So let's let go of that strap. Come on down, bring both knees to bend. And then we're going to come up into a nice bridge. So just tuck your tailbone, roll up, and then just hold. And what do you feel? Glutes tightening, quads, hamstrings, the core gently engaged. And we'll just breathe here as we hold our bridge. Now, if you'd like, you can roll down and up during the bridge. You could maybe add arms, lifting and lowering. I'll let you make this your own bridge for about the next 60 seconds. See if you can find your pada bandha. So separate your toes a little bit and give them a little bit of a grip into your mat, just a little bit. Make sure your hips are level, there's no rotation. And you're in pretty much a neutral spine, or if you like to make this a back bend, you can lift higher and make it more of an arched back. And we're releasing those hip flexors on both sides. Let's take 2 or 3 more breaths, either in and out through the nose or in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then we'll slowly roll down one vertebra at a time. And then a nice counter stretch here. We'll pull the knees in towards the chest. And you can rock a little side to side or make knee circles. It's just nice after we've done a back bend to do a little bit of a sort of like a forward fold in the back. All right, we're going to do windshield wiper legs, and you have the option to stay on your back. You're going to separate your feet and separate your knees about hips distance apart, and then just start to drop your knees from side to side. Or you can do this seated. So I want to show that option as well. So if we come up to sit, we can take our knees and our feet about hips distance apart, and we can let those knees drop side to side. So you choose whether you like seated or laying on your back. I think one problem with doing seated is it might bother your wrists to have your hands behind you and your weight onto your hands. Now, next time you drop your knees over to the right side, I want you to hold, either laying on your back or seated. And you can take your right foot and place it up onto the left leg, and then just let that side drop down a little bit more. So we're feeling a little bit of a release in that hip flexor. Good. All right, if you have the foot on top, you'll release that. You'll come all the way over to the other side. Option to put the foot up on the knee. It's not really on the knee, but to the outside, kind of the fleshy part of your quad, just above your knee joint. Good. And then release the foot. Come back up to the center. And again, either laying on your back or seated, we're going to bring the soles of the feet together into our butterfly. So if you like to do that laying on your back, just let your knees open. Sometimes it's bothersome to the low back to do that laying on your back. So if you like to be up and seated, this is great as well. And just relax the inner thighs. Let those knees open, soften. If you're seated, you can focus on good postural alignment, those shoulder blades back and down. If you're laying on your back, you can just feel the shoulder blades pressing into the mat and lengthen the neck. If you're seated, you can stretch this forward and through any amount. And then find a comfortable position for just a couple of minutes of meditation. So you can, if you're on your back, you can let your legs lengthen to Shavasana. If you're sitting up, you can come into a comfortable seated position where you can really relax, or sit in a chair. And we'll just close our eyes and find the belly breathing. And sometimes it's nice to put your hands on your belly so you can sense what's happening there. And as you inhale, let your belly fill like a balloon and expand out toward your hands. And as you exhale, flatten that balloon and draw your navel toward your backbone. And just breathing in and out of the belly at your own pace. Clear your mind. Relax any areas of tension in your body. Try not to clench your teeth or wrinkle your brow, or that little space between the eyebrows, or sometimes we kind of create that little crease. Let that be soft. And go back, if you set an intention for your practice this morning at the beginning of class, go back to that.